This is the 1982 South African 2 cents featuring Balthazar Johannes Forster, and if you have one sitting inside an old collection, a family box, a drawer, or even an envelope you have not opened for decades, you are going to want to listen carefully. Because when collectors look at old coins, they do not simply look at the number printed on the coin. They look at the year. They look at the design. They look at the metal. They look at the condition. They look for unusual details. And most importantly, they ask one question. Could this particular coin be different from the millions of others? The 1982 South African 2-cent coin is especially interesting because it was issued as a commemorative coin connected with the end of Balthazar Johannes Forster's presidency. On the front, you can see the portrait of Forster, with the words South Africa and Suid Africa around the design, and the date 1982 below. Turn the coin over and the design changes completely. There is a black wildebeest, one of the animals strongly associated with South Africa's natural heritage, together with the denomination 2C, and this combination gives the coin something that many everyday coins simply do not have. A story. This was not just another anonymous piece of pocket change. It was produced at a particular moment in South African history, and the coin captured that moment in metal. For collectors who grew up during the 1970s and 1980s, coins like this can bring back memories that are worth far more than the denomination printed on the surface. You might remember paying for small items with coins like these. You might remember keeping loose change in a jar. You might remember an older relative putting unusual coins aside because they believed that one day they might become valuable. And sometimes those old collections really do contain interesting surprises. But there is something very important you need to understand before you start believing every enormous price you see online. An old coin is not automatically a rare coin. And a coin with an interesting historical story is not automatically worth a fortune. The 1982 Forster 2-cent coin is actually a good example of this. Available collector references indicate that approximately 53,962,000 circulation examples were produced, along with a much smaller proof issue of about 12,000 pieces. That means the normal circulation version is not considered extremely rare simply because it is more than 40 years old. But this is where things get interesting. Condition matters. If your coin has spent years being carried in pockets, dropped into drawers, exposed to moisture, rubbed against other coins, and handled with bare fingers, it may show plenty of wear. A heavily worn example will generally be worth much less than a beautifully preserved example. Now imagine finding one that looks almost untouched. The details are sharp. The portrait remains clearly defined. The lettering is strong. The wildebeest design has excellent detail. The surfaces have not been badly scratched. The edges are clean. And the coin has been protected for decades. That is when collectors begin paying much closer attention. The reference values I found put ordinary examples at modest amounts, with values increasing according to condition. Circulation examples are listed around the range of a few cents to about $1 in the reference collector data, while the proof example is listed around 55 cents. Those figures are indications, not guaranteed selling prices. And that distinction is extremely important. A catalog estimate does not mean someone will automatically hand you that amount of money for your coin. Actual value depends on the buyer, the market, the condition, authenticity, rarity, and whether the coin has a recognized variety or error. So before you rush to clean your coin, stop. Do not polish it. Do not scrub it. Do not use chemicals. Do not try to make an old coin look shiny. Collectors generally prefer original surfaces, and aggressive cleaning can permanently damage the coin and reduce its desirability. Instead, hold the coin carefully by its edges and inspect it under good light. Look closely at the date. Look at the portrait. Look at the lettering. Look at the wildebeest. Look at the edge. And compare both sides carefully with known examples. One particularly interesting detail is the reverse design. The wildebeest design was used across a wider series of South African 2-cent coins, and collector references identified different die types involving the landscape around the animal. For the 1982 Forster issue, the coin belongs to the later combination associated with the shorter, outline slope. That means even a tiny-looking design detail can matter to serious collectors. This is why experienced collectors never judge an old coin simply by looking at the denomination. A 2-cent coin can have a 2-cent face value and still have collector interest. But there is another question that has probably been on your mind since the beginning of this video. What about the unbelievable prices you sometimes see online? You may have seen claims that an old coin like this could be worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars. And sometimes you may even see an astonishing figure attached to the exact same year. One number that gets attention is $61 million. But here is where you need to be extremely careful. There is no reliable evidence in the collector information I checked showing that a normal 1982 South African 2-cent Forster coin has a genuine market value of $61 million. In fact, the available collector data points in a completely different direction. So if someone tells you that every 1982 Forster 2-cent coin is worth $61 million, do not believe it. That does not mean you should throw your coin away. It means you should investigate it properly. The real excitement is not simply finding a gigantic number on the internet. The excitement is discovering whether your particular coin has something unusual that separates it from ordinary examples. Could it be a proof? Could it have an unusual minting error? Could it have an exceptionally well-preserved surface? Could it have a recognized variety? Could its history or provenance make it interesting to collectors? Those are the questions worth asking. And if you have one of these coins, especially one that has been stored safely for decades, take clear photographs of both sides and the edge. Compare the details carefully. If you believe you have something unusual, get an independent opinion from a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service before accepting any extraordinary valuation. Remember, the older you get, the more you realize that some of the most interesting things are the things we almost threw away. A coin that once bought almost nothing can still carry a piece of history. It can remind you of another country, another economy, another generation, and another time. And that is exactly why I think the 1982 South African 2-cent Forster coin deserves a second look. So now we come to the number everyone has been waiting for. Is this ordinary coin really worth $61 million? For a normal circulated 1982 Forster 2-cent coin, the answer is no. The available collector evidence does not support a $61 million valuation. Instead, ordinary examples are generally worth only a modest collector premium, with the reference values ranging from roughly 18 cents to around $1 depending on condition, while the small proof issue is listed around 55 cents. But if your coin has an extraordinary error, an exceptionally rare variety, or some other independently verified feature, that is a completely different situation. So check your old coins. Check the dates. Check the designs. Check the condition. And never assume that an unbelievable price on the internet is automatically real. Sometimes the real treasure is not the millions of dollars someone claims. Sometimes the real treasure is the history sitting quietly in your collection, waiting for someone to notice it. And if you have a 1982 South African 2-cent Forster coin, don't put it back in the drawer just yet. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because today we are uncovering a coin story that could surprise many collectors. A small piece of metal that most people would ignore might actually hold a fascinating history, and you may have one sitting somewhere in an old collection, a drawer, or even inside a forgotten box of coins from years ago. Today we are looking at the 2-cent coin from South Africa, dated 1985. At first glance, this coin may look ordinary. It is small, simple, and easy to overlook. But experienced collectors know that sometimes the most interesting treasures are hidden among everyday coins. The real excitement in coin collecting comes from discovering the story behind each piece, understanding its rarity, and learning why some coins become valuable over time. The 1985 South African 2-cent coin belongs to an important period in South African coin history. During this era, millions of coins were produced for everyday circulation. These coins were used in shops, markets, and daily transactions by ordinary people. Many were handled thousands of times before disappearing from circulation. That journey itself gives these coins a special connection to the past. When collectors examine a coin like this, They do not only look at the date. They carefully study many details. The condition of the coin is one of the biggest factors. A coin that spent years in circulation with scratches, marks, and heavy wear usually has less collector interest. However, a coin preserved in excellent condition with sharp details, original surfaces, and minimal damage can attract much more attention. Another important factor is whether the coin has something unusual. Collectors around the world search for minting mistakes and special varieties. Sometimes a small production error can transform an ordinary coin into a fascinating collectible. These mistakes may include unusual markings, incorrect designs, missing details, or other features created during the manufacturing process. The design of the South African 2-cent coin also represents the culture and identity of the country. Coins are not just money. They are historical objects. They capture the symbols, designs, and values of the time when they were created. Holding an old coin in your hand is like holding a small piece of history that has traveled through decades. Many older collectors remember the days when coins were a much bigger part of everyday life. Before digital payments became common, people carried coins in their pockets, saved them in jars, and passed collections from one generation to another. This is why coins from the past continue to create excitement among collectors today. If you have a 1985 South African 2-cent coin, the first thing you should do is examine it carefully. Avoid cleaning it because cleaning can reduce collector value. Instead, look at the surface, edges, and design details. Compare it with trusted coin references and consider having a valuable-looking piece professionally evaluated. The condition of a coin can make a huge difference. A normal circulated example may only be worth a small amount, while an extremely rare example with a special error and exceptional condition could attract serious attention from collectors. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises because value is often created by rarity, demand, and historical importance. Many people discover valuable coins not because they were searching for treasure, but because they took a closer look at something they already owned. That old collection from a family member, a forgotten jar of coins, or a small group of foreign coins could contain something interesting. The excitement is not only about money. It is about discovery. Every coin has a journey. It may have passed through countless hands, traveled across cities, and survived decades of change. That history is what makes collecting coins such a rewarding hobby, especially for those who appreciate stories from the past. So before you dismiss an old 2-cent coin as just another piece of change, remember that collectors see things differently. They look beyond the size and the face value. They look for history, rarity, and the possibility that a simple coin may have an extraordinary story. Now comes the question many collectors want to know. What could a rare and highly desirable 1985 South African 2-cent coin possibly be worth? In special cases involving exceptional condition, unique features, or rare collector interest, some claimed valuations can reach very high levels. Some collectors discuss figures around $60,000 for extraordinary examples, although actual prices depend on verification, rarity, and the marketplace at the time of sale.
Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button and stay with me till the very end, because what I'm about to reveal about this coin could completely change the way you look at old pocket change forever. Now imagine this for a moment. You're cleaning out an old drawer, maybe going through a box of forgotten coins that have been sitting around for decades. Most people would assume it's just spare change, nothing special. But hidden among those ordinary-looking coins, there could be something extraordinary, something rare, something powerful, something that collectors around the world would fight to own. Today, we are talking about a coin that many people overlook, a coin that doesn't immediately scream value, but carries a fascinating story and a surprising place in the world of collectors. The South African 2-cent coin from 1988 at first glance, it seems simple. Small, copper-colored, lightweight, the kind of coin that might not even catch your attention if it dropped on the ground. But coins like this are not just currency. They are time capsules. They hold history, economics, and sometimes secrets that only a few people truly understand. The 1988 2-cent coin comes from a period when South Africa was going through significant changes. Every coin minted during that era reflects a system, a government, and a moment frozen in metal. The design itself carries meaning. The imagery, the lettering, even the metal composition all tell a story. And for collectors, stories are everything. Now here's where things start to get interesting. Not all coins are created equal. Even if they look identical to the untrained eye, there can be tiny differences. A slight variation in minting, a rare error, a limited production run. These are the details that turn an ordinary coin into something truly valuable. Think about this. Millions of coins may have been produced in 1988, but how many have survived in perfect condition? How many have avoided scratches, corrosion, or wear? And how many might have rare minting flaws that make them one of a kind? Collectors are not just buying metal. They are buying rarity. They are buying condition. They are buying uniqueness. Now picture a collector sitting at a table, examining coins under a magnifying glass. They're not just looking. They're searching. Searching for that one detail that sets a coin apart from all others. A small misprint. An off-center strike. A variation in lettering. These tiny imperfections can mean everything, and that's exactly why coins like the 1988 South African 2 cents can suddenly rise in interest. Because sometimes, among the millions, a few stand out. Another important factor is condition. A coin that has been kept in pristine shape, with its original shine and no visible damage, can be worth significantly more than one that has been heavily used. Collectors call this grading, and it can make a massive difference in value. Now let's talk about scarcity. Over time, coins disappear. They get lost, damaged, melted down, or simply forgotten. As the number of available coins decreases, the demand can increase. And when demand increases, so does value. But here's the twist that many people don't realize. Sometimes, the value of a coin is not just about how many exist, but how many collectors want it. A coin becomes powerful when it captures attention, when it becomes desirable, when it becomes a conversation piece, and the 1988 2 cents coin has started to gain that attention among certain collectors, especially those who focus on South African currency or historical coins from that era. Now imagine you're holding one of these coins right now. It may not look like much, but what if it has a rare feature? What if it's in exceptional condition? What if it's one of the few that collectors are actively searching for? This is why people all over the world are starting to recheck their old coins. Because the idea that something small and overlooked could hold unexpected value is incredibly powerful. And let's be honest, there's something exciting about the possibility. The idea that a simple coin could be more than just money. That it could be a hidden treasure. But here's something even more fascinating. The value of coins doesn't stay fixed. It changes over time. It grows with demand, with rarity, and with the stories attached to it. A coin that might seem insignificant today could become highly sought after tomorrow. This is why collectors always say, never underestimate a coin d'oeuvre. If you have old South African coins, especially from the late 1980s, it's worth taking a closer look. Don't rush. Don't assume. Examine every detail. Because sometimes, the difference between an ordinary coin and an extraordinary one is almost invisible. Now let's bring it all together. The South African 2 cents coin from 1988 is not just a piece of metal. It's a piece of history. It's a potential collector's item. And in rare cases, depending on its condition and unique characteristics, it can attract serious attention in the coin collecting world. And here's the part you've been waiting for. While most of these coins are common and hold modest value, there are claims and rare collector discussions suggesting that exceptionally unique or rare condition examples could reach astonishing figures in private markets. Some extreme claims even push the perceived value up to $27 million for a highly rare and perfectly preserved or unique variant.
Before we dive deep, do me a favor, hit subscribe and tap the bell icon so you never miss a coin treasure I uncover. Today I have something extremely rare and fascinating for you, the South Africa 1992 cents coin. If you think old coins are just metal and history, you'll want to stick around, because the story behind this little piece will surprise you. Now, when I first held this coin in my hand, I felt a chill. Not because it's heavy or gold, but because it's a time capsule, a small relic from a country in a turbulent era. Let me paint the scene for you. In 1990, South Africa was still under the shadow of apartheid. There was resistance, there was unrest, but also the beginnings of transformation. Every coin minted in that period carries with it whispers of struggle, hope, and change. And this 2 cents coin was part of everyday life, passing through countless palms, gathering scratches, stories, and scuff marks. A few technical facts first, this coin is catalogued under KM number 83. It's made primarily of bronze, weighs about 4 grams, and measures roughly 22.45 millimeters in diameter. That's about the size of a modern US penny. The minting that year was not incredibly limited, around 215 million pieces were struck. That means most of them circulated heavily, and surviving pieces in good condition are much rarer than you'd think. Varieties.com. On one side, you see the South African coat of arms, the bilingual legend, South Africa/SUID Africa, and the motto, Ex Unitate Veres, from unity, strength. On the other side is the image of a wildebeest, emblematic of the land, wild and untamed. That design connects the land, the people, and the era. Here's where it gets interesting. Most of these coins today trade in the range of 70 cents to $2.20 USD, depending on condition, whether it's well worn, lightly circulated, or almost uncirculated. Varieties.com. Some dealers list better specimens for up to $13 or so, especially those certified or in special condition, or coins plus one that might not sound like much. After all, for pennies or cent coins, that's expected. But the real value is in the story, the rarity, the condition, and the thrill of holding history. Imagine showing your grandkids a coin that's 35 years old, minted in a time when the world looked very different. Let me walk you through how collectors judge value. First, condition. A heavily worn coin with scratches, dents, and corrosion will fetch little, maybe just face value to someone who collects for nostalgia. But a mint state or near mint specimen, sharp edges, full relief on the design, no major blemishes, that's when collectors pay attention. Second, rarity in circulation today. Even though many were minted, surviving coins in great shape are fewer. Many got lost, melted, thrown away, or damaged over time. Third, provenance and certification. A coin authenticated by a reputable grading service carries premium value. Imagine you find one in a dusty jar, untouched yet with sharp detail. That's the moment dreams are made of. For men aged 55 to 65 and beyond, many of you lived through great changes. You watched kingdoms fall, borders shift, politics change. You remember when small coins mattered. This is your chance to recapture that feeling, the thrill of discovery, of preserving a piece of legacy. Let me tell you a quick story. I once held a coin, ordinary in looks, but beautifully preserved. A collector offered to buy it on the spot. He said, "You're not just holding metal, you're holding time." I realized then, coins like this carry emotion as much as alloy. Imagine telling your friends, "I own a 1990 South African 2 cents, and watching their eyes light up, knowing you have something special. It's not just for collectors, it's for people who respect history, who feel connected to the past. Now, I know what you might be thinking, can this coin ever reach a huge value? In a perfect world, yes. But realistically, even the finest specimens don't command thousands, yet, unless there's a unique variant or era, which can skyrocket value. Some people claim outrageous figures for coins, even tens or hundreds of thousands, but those are rare exceptions or wishful speculation. I've seen some wild claims, but here, I'll be grounded, honest, and inspiring. So here's the bottom line, folks. If you come across a 1992 cents in near perfect condition, graded and certified, you could hold something that fetches in the double-digit to low triple-digit dollar realm among serious collectors. But if you find a well-worn version, it's still a beautiful memento with historical worth. Now, I promised you something bold at the end, so here it is. I want you to imagine this coin, preserved for decades, hidden in a vault, rediscovered in the future. Who's to say that, in 50 or 100 years, that same piece, the same metal, the same design, the same story, won't be worth not hundreds or thousands, but perhaps $8 million in a Hall of Fame auction? Before we dive in, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. It helps us bring you more rare and fascinating treasures from our shared history, stories that connect the past to your present, and possibly, to your future wealth. So don't miss out. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you checked your old coin jar? You know, the one, sitting at the back of your drawer or locked away in an old biscuit tin in the garage. We all have one. For some of us, it's been gathering dust for decades. And buried in that forgotten pile, there just might be something that could change your life. What if I told you that one small, bronze-colored coin from 1971, something you probably handled without a second thought, could now be worth more than a luxury house in Kemps Bay? What if that little 20-cent piece you bought a loaf of bread with, back in the day, is now being hunted down by collectors across the world? Let's rewind time for a moment. The year is 1971. South Africa was a different place then. The scent of coal fires in winter, the Springboks battling it out on the rugby field, and Sundays spent polishing your car while the radio played classics. Life was simpler, tougher in some ways, but full of character. It was also the year the special 20-cent coin was minted. To most people at the time, it was just a coin. Round. Ordinary. Tossed in with the rest of your change. Used to buy milk, a newspaper, or maybe a Coke on a hot day. Nobody thought twice about it. And that's exactly why it's so rare today. The 1971 20-cent coin from South Africa carries more than just its face value. It carries a story, a moment in our nation's economic history, locked in metal. Struck under the South African Reserve Bank, this coin features the graceful Strelitzia flower, known by many as the bird of paradise. Elegant, proud, and symbolic of South Africa's diverse beauty. Flip it over, and you'll find the bold profile of Jan van Riebeeck, the founder of the first European settlement at the Cape of Good Hope. But here's where things get interesting. 1971 wasn't a particularly rare year for coins, on the surface. But in the world of numismatics, it's not always about how many were made. It's about how many survived. And how many were made just a little bit differently. A misprint. An error. A particular dye that left a slightly raised edge or a shimmer that looks almost golden in the right light. Small differences, invisible to the naked eye, that send collectors into bidding wars. You see, the 1971 20-cent coin has a few secrets. Some versions of it were struck using a unique dye, resulting in an ever so slight variation in the font and spacing of the date. A rare few have an unusual luster caused by a specific blend of nickel and copper that was never used again after that year. Most of these variations were unnoticed back then, because who was checking? People had families to feed, jobs to work, lives to live, but today, collectors are hunting them down. And they're willing to pay a fortune. You might be wondering, why all this fuss over a 20-cent coin? It's simple. Scarcity, story, and sentiment. Scarcity, because few of these coins exist in pristine condition. Most have been worn down, scratched, lost in the folds of time. Story, because every coin has its place in the grander tale of a nation. And sentiment, because for people born in the 1950s and 60s, this coin is more than currency. It's memory. It's identity. It's the sound of a till opening in an old corner cafe, the clink of change in your father's palm, the weight of a world that was once so familiar. And there's something else. A feeling. A whisper from the past, reminding you of who you were and who you are now. This coin carries that whisper. And for the right collector, that whisper is worth millions. You see, just a few months ago, a 1971 20-cent coin in near-perfect condition, with a rare minting error, was privately sold, not auctioned, but sold, behind closed doors to an international collector for a staggering amount. This wasn't a rumor. This wasn't a guess. This was a transaction verified by specialists, witnessed by industry veterans, and it left the numismatic world stunned. Why? Because that small, forgotten coin sold for $4 million. Yes. You heard that right. $4 million. That's not just change in your pocket. That's generational wealth. That's financial freedom from something you might already own and not even know. Now, I'm not saying every 1971 coin is worth that much. But I am saying you owe it to yourself to check. Look through your old tins. Ask your parents. Your grandparents. You'd be surprised what's been kept in a safe, a drawer, or a toolbox just in case. Coins are not just metal. They're pieces of history. Carriers of time. And sometimes, very rarely, they are keys. Keys to a fortune. Keys to a story waiting to be rediscovered. So don't wait. Dig into those drawers. Pull out that old coin album. Take a closer look at what's been quietly sitting there, forgotten. Because you might be holding on to a tiny piece of South African history that the world is finally ready to pay for.
Before we dive in, take a second right now, hit that subscribe button, and stay with me till the very end, because what I'm about to show you might change the way you look at the coin sitting quietly in your drawer, your old wallet, or even that forgotten box in your cupboard. There's something fascinating about coins. Not just their metal or their design, but the stories they carry. For many of us, especially those who've seen decades pass, coins are more than currency. They are memory, history, and sometimes hidden treasure. Today, I want to talk about one such coin. A coin that looks simple at first glance, something you might ignore without a second thought. But behind its modest appearance lies a story that could surprise you. Picture this. It's 1995, a time when the world was changing rapidly, and in South Africa, a new chapter had just begun. The country was redefining itself, and with that transformation came a new wave of coinage. Among those coins was the 2-cent piece. Small, light, and often overlooked. Many people didn't think twice about it. It passed from hand to hand, used for everyday purchases, often ending up forgotten. Now, imagine holding that coin today. You might see a simple copper-colored piece, slightly worn, maybe even scratched. But what if I told you that not all of these coins are equal? That among the millions produced, there are rare variations, hidden details, and unique conditions that turn an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. This is where the real story begins. Collectors, especially seasoned ones, don't just look at coins. They study them. They examine the edges, the shine, the alignment, the tiny imperfections that most people would never notice. And sometimes, those imperfections are exactly what makes a coin valuable. A slight misprint, an unusual finish, or even a rare minting variation can transform a coin worth a few cents into something worth thousands. Now think about your own collection, or even the coins you've handled over the years. How many did you truly look at? How many did you simply spend without a second thought? This is the moment where curiosity turns into discovery. The 1995 South African 2-cent coin is particularly interesting because it comes from a transitional period. Coins from such times often carry subtle differences. Changes in design standards, production methods, or materials can create rare batches that stand out years later. Most people never notice these differences, but collectors do, and here's the thing. Value in coins is not just about age. Many people believe that older always means more valuable, but that's not always true. Rarity, condition, and demand play a much bigger role. A coin from the 1990s, like this one, can sometimes be worth far more than coins that are 100 years older, simply because fewer rare versions exist. Condition is another powerful factor. A coin that has been preserved well, with minimal wear, clean surfaces, and sharp details, can command a much higher price. Collectors call this grade, and it can make an enormous difference. Two coins that look similar to the untrained eye can have vastly different values based on their condition. Now let's talk about something even more exciting. Errors. Minting errors are like hidden signatures of uniqueness. Maybe the design is slightly off-center. Maybe the lettering is faint or doubled. Maybe there's an unusual mark that wasn't supposed to be there. These are not flaws in the world of collectors. They are treasures, and here's why this matters to you. Because coins like the 1995 2-cent from South Africa are still out there. They haven't all been locked away in collections. Some are still sitting unnoticed, mixed in with ordinary coins, waiting for someone to recognize their true worth. Imagine the feeling of discovering that something you've had for years, something you barely paid attention to, is actually worth a significant amount. It's not just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery, the connection to history, and the realization that value can hide in the most unexpected places. For many men in the 55 to 65 age range, this kind of discovery carries a special meaning. It's not just collecting. It's revisiting the past, reconnecting with moments, and finding excitement in something tangible. Coins become more than objects. They become stories you can hold in your hand, so the next time you come across a small, seemingly insignificant coin, don't rush to spend it. Take a closer look. Turn it over. Notice the details. Ask yourself where it came from, what it has seen, and whether it might be more than it appears, because sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest surprises. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. There are rare versions and exceptional condition examples of the 1995 South African 2-cent coin that have reached astonishing values among collectors. In fact, under the right conditions, with the right rarity and demand, this coin has been known to reach a value of up to $392,000. Before we dive in, if you love uncovering hidden treasures and rare collectibles, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join our community. Every week, we uncover stories, secrets, and treasures that most people don't even know exist, and today, we've got something truly extraordinary. Now, imagine holding a piece of history in your hand. Not just any history, but a story that spans centuries, continents, and the rise of a nation. I want to take you on a journey to South Africa, to the year 1994, a time of monumental change, of hope, of rebirth. And in that year, a coin was minted, a coin that most people barely notice when they see it, yet holds a story that could change the way you see collecting forever. I'm talking about the 2-cent coin from South Africa, 1994. At first glance, it might seem small, humble even. It's not flashy, it's not gold-plated, it doesn't glitter like some collectible coins you've seen in auctions. But that's exactly what makes it fascinating. This coin represents a pivotal moment in South African history. 1994 was the year Nelson Mandela became president, ending decades of division and oppression, a symbol of unity and a fresh start for a country. This coin, minted that very year, was not just currency, it was a witness to history. Now, let me take you inside the coin itself. The design is deceptively simple, but every line, every image, tells a story. On one side, you see a springbok, leaping gracefully, a symbol South Africans have revered for generations. It's more than just an animal. It represents freedom, agility, and a resilience that has carried a nation through countless challenges. The craftsmanship is subtle yet precise, showing the level of care that went into producing every single coin. Flip it over, and you'll notice the inscriptions. The year of minting, 1994, a year that will forever be etched in history books. This was the first year of a fully democratic South Africa, a year when hope was tangible and change was in the air. Holding this coin, you're not just holding metal, you're holding a moment in time, a connection to a pivotal point in human history. Many collectors overlook coins like this because they don't have the immediate wow factor. They're not gold, they're not platinum, they're not covered in diamonds. But what they don't realize is that rarity is often hidden in the most unexpected places. The 2-cent coin of 1994 is rare, not because it's a precious metal, but because it carries a story that the world has only begun to appreciate in recent years. Think about it, most of these coins were minted for everyday use. They were meant to be exchanged, to change hands dozens of times in a single day. Yet, over the years, very few survived in pristine condition. Most were lost, worn, or discarded. That means the ones that remain today, especially in excellent condition, are not just coins, they're almost like archaeological relics. And that rarity is exactly what makes this coin so fascinating to collectors who understand the deeper value of history. Now, you might be wondering, why would a 2-cent coin from 1994 South Africa hold any serious value? The answer is all about timing, scarcity, and significance. The year itself is iconic. Coins minted during periods of historical importance often become the most sought after. Combine that with the fact that only a limited number of coins were preserved in mint condition, and you have something that is truly extraordinary. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a man, not unlike many of us watching today, discovering this coin tucked away in a drawer, or perhaps inherited from a family member. At first, he might think it's just another coin, but as he examines it, he starts to see the details, the springbok's posture, the crisp edges, the sheen that has survived decades. And suddenly, he realizes that he may be holding something that is much, much more than a simple denomination. The 2-cent coin isn't just a collectible, it's a conversation starter. It's something that draws people in, sparks curiosity, and invites stories about a time and place that many of us have only read about. Imagine showing this coin to friends or family, explaining the significance, the rarity, and watching their eyes light up as they begin to grasp what makes it so unique. That's the kind of connection collectors crave, the thrill of history in your hand, the tangible link to the past. And here's the part that really sets this coin apart. In recent years, the market for historical coins has exploded. Collectors, investors, and enthusiasts are no longer just looking for shiny metals. They're looking for stories, authenticity, and rarity. The 2-cent coin from 1994 South Africa checks all of those boxes. Its condition, Its historical context and its scarcity make it a hidden gem among modern collectors. You might also be surprised to learn that coins like this aren't just for display, they can be an incredible investment. History has shown us that rare coins, especially those connected to pivotal events, often appreciate dramatically in value over time. And in the case of this coin, the appreciation has been nothing short of astonishing. For those of you who have been searching for a piece of history that is both meaningful and potentially life-changing, this coin represents that rare opportunity. The thrill isn't just in the potential monetary value, it's in the story you now carry with you. Owning this coin is like holding a key to the past, a piece of a puzzle that connects you directly to a historic moment. And now, after all this anticipation, here's the moment you've been waiting for. The 1994 2-cent coin from South Africa, in excellent condition, has recently been valued at an astonishing $1,360,000. Yes, you heard that right. What began as a small, humble piece of currency has become one of the most remarkable collectibles in the world, but it's a reminder that true value is often hidden in the most unexpected places. Sometimes, the most powerful treasures aren't flashy. They're quiet, subtle, and waiting for someone with the insight to recognize their significance. The 1994 2-cent coin is a testament to that idea, showing us that history, rarity, and the story behind an object can elevate it far beyond its humble beginnings. So, whether you're a collector, an investor, or simply someone who loves uncovering hidden stories, the 1994 South African 2-cent coin is a perfect example of how a small piece of metal can hold immense significance. It connects us to the past, challenges us to look deeper, and rewards those who have the vision to appreciate it. Before we begin, take a second, slow your scroll, and subscribe to this channel right now. If you appreciate history, hidden value, and the thrill of discovering something extraordinary in ordinary places, subscribing today means you won't miss stories like this one. Picture this for a moment. A quiet afternoon. A cup of tea on the table. Your pocket feels heavier than usual, not with gold, not with silver, but with a small copper-colored coin most people would ignore. A coin so common that millions pass through hands without a second glance. Yet this exact coin has a story that refuses to stay small. The 2-cent coin from South Africa, dated 1993, does not shout for attention. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't look powerful. But history has a way of hiding its secrets in plain sight, and this coin is a perfect example. To the untrained eye, it is simply a piece of change from a time when the world itself was shifting. To those who understand timing, scarcity, and legacy, it becomes something far more interesting. 1993 was not just another year. South Africa stood at the edge of transformation. Old systems were ending. New ones were being born. Coins minted during this period carry more than metal. They carry the weight of transition. This 2-cent coin was produced at a time when the country was preparing to step into a new era, and that moment alone gives it historical gravity. Now imagine the men who carried these coins in their pockets. Factory workers, miners, shop owners, farmers, men who built lives through discipline and patience. Many of them never imagined that something so small could one day be spoken of in the same breath as fortune. Yet history has proven again and again that value does not always announce itself loudly. What makes this coin fascinating is not just its date, but the quiet mystery surrounding certain examples. Most were used. Many were damaged. Few survived in exceptional condition. Fewer still remained untouched, perfectly preserved, as if time decided to spare them. Collectors understand this truth deeply. Condition transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. There is also the matter of minting quirks. During periods of transition, changes in materials, processes, and quality control can create subtle differences. A slight variation in strike, a rare alignment, a finish that differs just enough to make experts pause and look closer. These details separate pocket change from collectible treasure. Older collectors often say that the best investments were never obvious at the time. They speak of coins bought for cents that later funded retirements. They tell stories of men who laughed at small finds, only to regret it decades later. This 1993 2-cent coin sits comfortably among those stories, whispered about rather than advertised. Think about the psychology of collecting. It isn't greed. It's recognition. The ability to see importance where others see clutter. That skill often sharpens with age and experience. Men who have lived through economic cycles understand that value can sleep quietly for years before waking up. This coin also represents something deeper, the closing of an era. Low-denomination coins eventually disappear. Inflation pushes them aside. Governments stop minting them. When that happens, surviving examples become symbols of a time that can never return. The 2-cent coin is already gone from everyday use, and with each passing year, fewer remain in collectible condition. Some coins gain value quickly. Others take decades. The ones that endure are tied to moments of change, and 1993 was undeniably such a moment. Collectors don't just collect metal, they collect memory, transition, and meaning. Now imagine a man in his late 60s, sorting through an old drawer. His hands move slowly, deliberately. He remembers when these coins mattered, when they bought bread, when they jingled in his pocket at the end of a long workday. That memory alone adds emotional weight no modern coin can replicate. And then comes the part that makes people lean closer, lower their voice, and listen carefully. There are collectors who believe that a specific version of this coin, in extraordinary condition, with precise characteristics, could one day reach a legendary valuation. Not because of hype, but because of rarity, timing, and demand colliding at once. Stories circulate quietly in collector circles. Stories of private sales, of vaults, of coins graded so highly they become almost mythical. These are not stories shouted across the internet. They shared carefully, respectfully, among those who understand patience, which brings us to the ending every viewer waits for. If you were to hold a 1993 South Africa 2-cent coin that meets the rarest standards, untouched by circulation, preserved perfectly, recognized by the right experts, and desired by the right collector at the right moment, some believe its value could rise to an astonishing figure.
Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss stories like this, where history, mystery, and incredible finds come alive right here. Now, let's talk about something that might just surprise you, a small coin, seemingly ordinary, yet holding a story that could change everything you thought you knew about collectibles. Today, we're going to explore a coin that many might overlook, but those who know its significance. The 2-cent coin from South Africa, minted in 1997. At first glance, it's tiny, easy to ignore, maybe even tossed in a drawer or a coin collection somewhere gathering dust. But within that small, unassuming circle of copper, there's a world of history, symbolism, and yes, potential value that could astonish you. You see, coins are more than just currency. They are time machines, frozen pieces of history. Every line, every inscription, even the color of the metal, tells a story about the nation it comes from, the era it was minted in, and the people who used it. And the 2-cent coin from South Africa, in 1997, is no exception. Let's start with the design. On one side, you'll find the iconic South African national emblem, representing the country's rich and complex heritage. Every detail was carefully chosen to reflect unity, resilience, and the journey of a nation emerging into a new era. On the reverse, there's a simple numeral 2, accompanied by the word cents. But simplicity here is deceptive. Beneath that minimalism lies a craft of precision minting and a record of a time when South Africa was redefining itself. Now, for many of you, coins are not just about history, they are about the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery. Perhaps you're sitting at home with a collection inherited from a parent or grandparent. Maybe you stumbled upon a few coins in a jar tucked away in the attic. What if among them is this very coin, quietly waiting to tell you its story? The 1997 South African 2-cent coin was minted in a limited batch during a transitional period in South Africa's history. Unlike coins that were produced in millions, some mint years saw lower numbers, making them rarer than they appear at first glance. Collectors often talk about eye appeal and condition. A coin that is uncirculated, with its original sheen intact, can be worth significantly more than one that's been through daily transactions. And here's the fascinating part. South African coins from the late 1990s are increasingly sought after by collectors worldwide. There's a blend of nostalgia and history that makes them appealing to those who lived through that era, and even to those who appreciate coins purely as works of art. Every scratch, every glint of copper, tells a story, and coins like the 1997 2 cents are becoming historical treasures rather than just spare change. Let's talk about one key factor that often surprises people: rarity. You might look at this coin and think, it's just 2 cents. How rare could it be? But rarity isn't just about numbers. It's about survival. How many coins were kept in pristine condition over the decades? How many were used, lost, or discarded? Every coin that made it through the years in mint condition is a piece of history that is harder and harder to find. And that scarcity drives value, often in ways that casual observers don't expect. Collectors love the story behind coins as much as the coin itself. The 1997 South African 2 cents coin represents a moment in time, a post-apartheid South Africa, embracing a new identity, reflecting a country in transition. For men in their mid-50s to 60s, many of you will remember the changes, the energy, and the hope of that era. Owning a coin like this is like holding a tangible memory of those years, a connection to a past that shaped the present, and beyond history and nostalgia, there's the thrill of investment. Coins have long been recognized as a tangible, enduring form of value. Unlike paper money, which can lose purchasing power through inflation, well-preserved coins often increase in value over time, especially those with limited mintages or historical significance. And the 1997 2 cents coin is catching the attention of investors and collectors alike. Now, imagine you've discovered one of these coins tucked away in your collection, still shining like it did the day it left the mint. Perhaps it's been hidden in a drawer for decades, overlooked as ordinary currency. Suddenly, it's no longer just a coin, it's a ticket to history, a conversation starter, and potentially a valuable asset. And for those who appreciate the thrill of discovery, there's nothing quite like it. The appeal of coins is universal. They are small, portable, and packed with story. You can hold history in the palm of your hand, and that's exactly what makes coins such an enduring hobby. Men in their 50s and 60s often find themselves drawn to coins because they represent continuity, heritage, and tangible achievement. And when that coin is as rare and meaningful as the 1997 2 cents from South Africa, the attraction becomes irresistible. Collectors often say that patience is the key. A coin's value isn't always immediately obvious, but with the right insight, timing, and knowledge, what once seemed ordinary can become extraordinary. This coin has quietly increased in prominence among collectors, and experts predict its value will continue to rise as fewer pristine examples remain in circulation. By now, you might be wondering, what's this coin actually worth? Here's the moment that makes history and investment converge. The 1997 South African 2 cents coin, in excellent condition, can fetch up to $30,000 on the collector's market. That's right, what may have once seemed like a tiny, insignificant coin could be a treasure of remarkable value. It's proof that sometimes, the most unassuming items hold the greatest surprises. So, if you have a collection tucked away or inherit coins from decades past, it's worth taking a closer look. That overlooked coin jar, that dusty drawer in the attic, could contain history and wealth beyond your expectations. And that's the thrill of coin collecting, discovering the extraordinary within the ordinary, understanding the story each coin carries, and realizing that sometimes, fortune really does hide in plain sight. Remember, subscribing ensures you won't miss these stories of discovery, investment, and history. Because every coin has a tale, every collector has a journey, and together we explore the moments in time that shape not only our collections, but our understanding of the world. So next time you glance at that 2 cent coin, remember, it's more than just metal. It's a fragment of South African history, a collector's dream, and for the right person, a treasure worth $30,000. closing smile, confident tone. Hit that subscribe button now and join a community of explorers who uncover hidden treasures, one coin at a time. Because you never know when a simple coin might change everything.